year has been a roller coaster for the agriculture sector, with the rollback of farm laws, banning of rice exports other than basmati, and domestic food inflation soaring high, with tomato, onion, and garlic touching new price hike records. But will the upcoming budget take cognizance of these issues plaguing the sector? To talk about this, today I have with me Mr. Chirag Jain, partner Grant Thornton. So, hi Chirag, welcome. My first question to you is that when we're looking at this interim budget, do you expect this to be a populist budget, or do you think it's going to be, a financial stopgap kind of a budget?
See, if we see from the overall budget perspective, it's a subtrishie budget, which probably focus on infrastructure, which focus on inclusive development, which focus on the youth power, which focus on the women as a whole. So a lot of areas which are probably being left out in so many years are being covered into this particular budget. And this clearly reflects this is not something which is a stopgap arrangement. It's a long-term perspective which has been seen by the government, and they have seen that this is something, an area which is required, where a lot of investment has to be pushed in, and that's how the complete ecosystem of this particular budget has been carved out. Importantly, in fact, from the agriculture perspective, about 1.25 lakh crore of budget has been given to this particular financial year, which clearly indicate the focus of government has been very, very clear that, inclusive development has to be a focus area in the overall ecosystem.
Taking your point from there, last year in budget, the government had introduced a lot of novel concepts, like you had a push towards agri or startups, then you had eco-friendly farming and everything. So, taking a look back of 1 year, how much do you think the government has actually stood up on all those concepts?
See, all those concepts, when we talk about, for example, the digital infrastructure, it can't be done, everything probably in a year perspective. So the initiatives have been done. There are a lot of initiatives have been part of, Grant Thornton has been part of the policy frameworks, and we have ourselves seen all those activities which are currently for the agri stack which is in there. Agri stack is almost on the verge of development, the finalization, but yes, it will take some more year and some more time to actually finalize, and then implementing on the state level also, because agriculture being a state subject. Additionally, the accelerator fund, there is 100,000 plus startups which are being funded. There is a lot of activity on the Pradhan Mantri Matsya Yojana, where a lot of fund has been given already. And cooperatives, again, there is a lot of development has happened towards the cooperative. So it's a step into the right direction, but it will take some more time to get a fruitful results probably for a common person or common farmer.
Okay. My next question is, MSP or minimum support price is a very sore topic when it comes to both the government as well as the farmers. So, do you think this particular topic will be touched upon or addressed by the government in the upcoming budget?
See, MSP is something, minimum support price, we also need to see that why it is being given to a farmer. If we see from the last 50 years, it has been a reform which has come up because there was no marketing ecosystem which was there. The minimum support price was given to the farmer. Now, eventually, this is more like currently it's a Stockholm, derivative, where most of the farmers are currently working only with the aggregators or the middlemen, and they are feeling comfort, even though they are being exploited to a certain level, but they are feeling comfort also. But yes, MSP is something which is required for certain crops. But eventually, if we see in the longer duration of time, in the next 5 to 10 years, government is going to take off and this MSP, but it will remain in some of the crops. But yes, the key crops, probably the cereals one, I'm sure the government will move towards more market fluctuation rather than giving the MSPs to the farmers.
Okay. Another thing that I wanted to understand is that, recently the Union Cabinet approved, I think, roughly 22,000 crore for a fertilizer, right? So when we come about it, you have massive complex fertilizers like NPK and everything, and which are being imported at a high level. So do you foresee a trend where there will be a subsidy towards it or a push towards more of ingrown fertilizers?
So there is a lot of rationalization which has happened. If you see the 2.25 lakh crore was envisaged, but actual spend was only 1.75 lakh crore. And especially with the Russia-Ukraine war, the ecosystem was very difficult to actually manage. But still, Government of India really managed it well. Almost, and we also need to understand potash, phosphorus, all those are very limited. We don't actually produce them, and very limited infrastructure which is available for this. Government is pushing a lot of infrastructure, new infrastructure to this. Almost by 2024, we have new plants which are going to be get ready. But till the time we have all the ecosystem in place, we have efficiency inbuilt because most of the plants are also old. The efficiency needs to build in, so which will take some more time. But I'm sure with 3-4 more years, we'll have more Atmanirbharta in fertilizer, I would say.
Okay, from fertilizer, let's come to the crops point. This year, we saw a massive rise when it comes to prices of tomato and onion and garlic as well, for that matter. So, if we have to foresee that inflation in the domestic food capability went up, yes, but we also import a lot of food, right? So, as you talked about Russia-Ukraine war, when we are importing food from outside, the inflation from that point of view was soaring high, and that's been felt across the world. So how do you think the government can counter the whole food inflation and, in a way also boost our storage unit or processing unit for that matter?
See, there are two important factors when we talk about inflation and the overall the growth as well. When we talk about in terms of production, and for the farmers' income especially, and definitely the inflation is one part of it. Farmers' income, and there are so many reports, including the DFI report, Doubling Farmers' Income report, which clearly indicates there are 3 areas where government has to push in. One is definitely on the crop diversification, right?
Yeah.
That most of the crop, which is cereals in base, a high value crop, the government has to probably push the farmers to come into this. And input output ratio, how we can really have complete efficiency in the ecosystem, so that we can have a better utilization of the overall budget. And third, a key important part, which is there, how we can bring in innovation and the technology in terms of key important aspect, and more market-led ecosystem, so that the overall farmers can have a potential, not only give it on the MSP or to the farmers, to the government, but also look forward for the export perspective also. While doing this and while we produce more crops, there is also a reason that we need to push the processing also. And otherwise, if we don't push the processing, the inflation would be very high. There could be losses at certain level, and infrastructure for the processing has to go hand in hand, and which also includes exports also. So all those activity which are the value chain indicator has to go hand in hand, so that the overall ecosystem flourish.
When we talk about storage, for a long time, everybody was under the impression that when it comes to crop storage, we are very bad at that level. Do you think there's an improvement, or there's a need for more improvement towards it? Where does the whole situation stand as of right now?
So I'll give you a very basic example just to address. About 6-7 years back, the average wholesale price for apple is about 33-34 rupee per kg. While currently it's about 50 to 55 rupee per kg, which clearly indicates about 60 to 70% jump in the overall pricing of which probably is what farmers is getting the profit out of it. Apple availability, which probably was not the case from January onward, but you will find an apple probably till March or April, so it means that there is a clear infrastructure which has been built up, which supports the complete storage ecosystem for various crops, and this is something which probably quite technical also. Government is really pushing such infrastructure. For example, just in apple, we have built about 2 lakh metric ton of the CS store in the last 7 to 8 years, and we are going to build further 3 lakh metric ton more. So we are, yes, not there. There is enough of processing which needs to be built in, a lot of infrastructure which is built in. But yes, the overall processing level is increasing, the storage level is increasing. Storage and the processing level is about 2.5% till about 6 years back. Now it's about 4.5%, the overall processing level, which clearly indicates there is a processing infrastructure which is built through various intervention by the private sector and the government. And now this will go up, and the overall losses would further reduce.
Understood. Lastly, what do you expect from this budget? I mean, what do you think the government should focus on? What do you think they left out or didn't really give that much importance to, and didn't take cognizance of certain issues? Where do you want the government to shift their focus in terms of agriculture sector this budget?
So I would probably, this is an important area. We call it invisible farmer. And women in the country is invisible farmer. They have been working in the farmland for almost so many decades. Almost 75% of the women in the country are, they're getting their livelihood through this particular activity, but they're invisible. No one really account that farmer could be a woman also. This particular budget, I'm sure, would have a focus towards how we can make these women more empowerment. We can bring in more livelihood opportunities for them, so that their overall income and Lakhpati Didi ecosystem can be survived more, and we can have more Lakhpati Didis in our agriculture household. This is what I think the focus of the government would be in this particular.
Okay. Thank you so much for your thoughts, Chirag.